Breathe in slowly. Exhale without effort. Change nothing. Just be here for a moment. You are not lost. You are overwhelmed. Maybe no one has ever said it this way to you, and maybe you have spent too much time believing the opposite. The feeling of being lost weighs differently. It hurts your pride. It creates guilt. It makes you think you failed at some invisible point in your own life. But overwhelm does not speak of failure. It speaks of excess, of too many layers, of weight accumulated in silence. And what if, just for now, you stopped trying to find yourself and began simply to relieve yourself? There is a kind of tiredness that sleep does not fix. You wake up, and your body even moves, but something inside already wakes up tired. It is not the body that is heavy. It is the mind carrying invisible lists, responsibilities that have no ending time, expectations that no one else remembers, except you. And even when everything seems still, inside something runs without stopping. Perhaps now it becomes clear. It is not a lack of direction. It is an excess of stimulation. Days pass without a clear beginning and without the true ending. You do what needs to be done. You respond. You resolve. You function. And in the middle of all this, there is almost no space left to feel. It is not explicit sadness. It is something quieter, a sense of living at half presence, as if you were always one step behind yourself. And if your mind drifted away for a moment while listening to this, that too is part of the overload. Perhaps the heaviest part is this subtle idea that you should have already resolved this. You look around and see people moving forward, producing, advancing, and you ask yourself in silence, why does it seem so difficult for me? Perhaps something in you begins to notice that some minds feel more, process more, absorb more, and this is not weakness. It is depth without rest. You are not behind. You are carrying too much. There are moments when even silence is uncomfortable, because within it arise old thoughts, phrases that stayed, decisions that were never fully closed. You try to fill, to distract, to occupy. But emptiness does not want distraction. It wants real space. And perhaps, just perhaps, what you call confusion is simply a mind asking for less. There was no great event, no dramatic fall. It was a silent collapse, internal, progressive. One day you simply realized that something no longer fit, and you thought that was the end of clarity, without imagining that it was the beginning of relief. There comes a moment when the mind simply gets tired of running. It is not clarity yet. It is a forced pause, as if something within you said, in silence, that it has gone far enough for today. You keep living, you fulfill tasks, you move forward, but with less momentum, less reaction, more weight in the intervals. And maybe that scares you, because movement has always seemed like safety. Perhaps now you recognize that not every slowdown is loss. Some are protection. You may be surrounded by people, you may talk, you may even smile, and still feel alone. Not a social loneliness, but an internal loneliness. As if no one had access to what truly happens inside you. And in that space, without an audience, without distraction, questions arise that you avoided for a long time. Do not answer any of them. Just notice that they exist. Emptiness arrives without noise. It does not demand. It does not accuse. It does not pressure. It simply is. And because it has no shape, the mind tries to fill it quickly, with plans, with worries, with projections. Perhaps this begins to make sense now. The discomfort does not come from the emptiness. It comes from the habit of fleeing it. In moments like these, the past finds openings. Memories appear out of nowhere, not to hurt, but to be seen from another place. Things you overcame on the surface, but never allowed to breathe completely. And even if it hurts a little, there is something different now. You are not trying to fix anything, just observing. And then, almost imperceptibly, something changes. It is not happiness. It is not a solution. It is a microspace between one thought and another. An instant in which the mind does not pull, does not push, it simply observes. And perhaps this is the first sign that you do not need to resolve everything right now. Perhaps the beginning is simply to stop demanding immediate answers from yourself. There is a delicate moment in which you realize that you do not know exactly where you are going. And for the first time, this does not hurt so much. Not knowing stops being a threat and begins to feel like rest. As if the mind, tired of maps, accepted walking without an immediate destination. Perhaps now it feels lighter to realize. It is not the absence of direction, it is the suspension of self-pressure. Silence changes its quality. Before, it pressed. Now, it supports. You still feel the emptiness, but it does not pull you downward. It opens space around you. And within that space, something very subtle begins to reorganize itself. Nothing external changes, but inside there is less resistance. As if life were saying in a low voice that now is not the time to fight. It does not come as a revelation. It does not arrive as an answer. It is just a simple realization that crosses the mind without weight. Maybe I'm trying too hard. This thought does not accuse, it does not correct, it does not judge. It simply observes. And as it is observed, something begins to loosen. You realize that you spent a long time trying to control the outside when everything was asking for an internal adjustment. Nothing needs to change right now. Nothing needs to be resolved. Simply noticing is already movement enough. At some point, something small draws your attention. A distant sound, a detail in the environment, a neutral sensation in the body. And for an instant, there is gratitude. Not intense, not emotional, not dramatic. A quiet gratitude for simply not being in collapse right now. This does not solve life, but it changes the tone of the moment. And sometimes, changing the tone is all the environment needs. You begin to feel a different kind of strength. It does not accelerate. It does not demand. It does not push decisions. It simply accompanies. As if something greater, not external, not religious, just present, walked beside you, asking nothing in return. Perhaps now it becomes clear that you do not need to prove yourself. It is the rhythm that needs to adjust to you. You begin to notice patterns, not as criticism, but as calm observation. Thoughts that arise at the same times every day. Worries that appear when the body is tired. Ideas that seem urgent and disappear when you take a deep breath. None of this is failure. They are cycles. And when a cycle is seen, it loses part of its control. Perhaps now you understand, awareness does not eliminate weight. It redistributes it. There is a subtle point at which the mind stops occupying everything. It leaves gaps. And in those gaps, the outside begins to enter more lightly. Conversations do not feel so invasive. Time does not press as much. Hours do not shout. You did not change the world, but you changed the way it touches you. And that changes many things. You notice something curious. When the mind does not tighten, things move better. Not faster, more naturally. Ideas circulate. Small decisions resolve themselves. Paths organize without visible effort. Nothing spectacular, nothing magical, just coherent. Perhaps now it makes sense that flow begins not in effort, but in adjustment. You do not wake up different, but you begin to notice differences throughout the day. Less noise before sleeping, less urgency upon waking, more presence in the intervals. Life did not become perfect, it became livable. And that changes everything. What once weighed at the center now shifts. It does not disappear, but it no longer occupies everything at the same time. The center becomes calmer, more spacious. Emotions continue to come, but they no longer pile up as before. Perhaps now you realize that it was not life that became lighter. It was you who stopped holding everything at once. When the inner state organizes itself, the outer responds in small signs. Nothing flashy, nothing that needs to be announced. A path unlocks, a conversation flows better, a simple decision resolves itself. Not because you asked, but because you stopped blocking. The environment always responds to the state. Gratitude also changes place. It does not arise from achievements, it arises from coherence. From feeling that what happens outside no longer contradicts so much what lives inside. You do not thank life, you thank with your life. And that changes the tone of walking. There is no need to tell anyone. There is no speech, there is no banner. Rebirth is intimate. It appears in the way you react less, in the way you choose better where to place your energy, in the ease of saying, "Not now." You did not become someone new, you became less fragmented. Now, just feel. The body here, the breath happening on its own, the mind less tense. You were not lost, you were overwhelmed. And when the excess begins to leave, the path reappears. Not as a map, but as an internal sensation of direction. Carry this sensation into the next simple gesture of your day. Nothing needs to be resolved now.